Good afternoon. The subcommittee will come to order. Today we are marking up three bills, H.R. 2086, H.R. 2189, and H.R. 2423. All the bills on today's agenda will include amendments in the nature of substitute, and I will be supporting each piece of legislation. In accordance with committee rules, staff has received informal cost estimate from the Congressional Budget Office on each of these measures. However, these estimates are only a partial range of the potential cost because VA has yet to provide views on testimony considered at our June 28th legislative hearing. Specifically, CBO was not able to provide an estimate for Section 5 of the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 2086, nor was CBO able to put an opinion on Sections 2, 3, or 4 of the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189 without VA providing the department's views. Seeing that CBO has provided the most detailed view possible to date, and in light of the VA's inability to provide information in a timely manner, I believe that the substance of these measures and the policies within should be advanced by this subcommittee. The CBO will continue to labor upon these provisions and will provide updated estimates in advance of the full committee markups of these bills. Accordingly, I request waiver of Rule 3I, which allows the subcommittee to dispense with the requirement of CBO according to the markup with a majority vote. A quorum being present, the question now occurs on whether the requirement of Rule 3I of the committee rules of the procedure for the 113th Congress of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs shall be waived to allow the markup of H.R. 2086 and H.R. 2423. All those members in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the rule is waived. In addition to receiving CBO estimates on the remaining provisions, we will also need to identify some offsets before the bills go to the floor, and I look forward to working with the ranking member, Ms. Titus, and the minority to find other offsets that have the least impact on our veterans. On June 28, 2013, we heard testimony on each of these bills. I believe that all the legislation on our markup agenda today has been crafted to address the needs of our veterans while remaining fiscally responsible, and I would like to thank the ranking member, Ms. Titus, for working with me to bring these bills forward. The amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2086, Pay As You Rate Act, consolidates this bill with several other bills on our legislative agenda, H.R.s 1288, 1623, and 1809. It also includes the text of H.R. 2185, the Veterans Day Moment of Silence Act. Although this bill was not on our legislative agenda last month, the text of this bill successfully passed out of this committee last year and is a bipartisan, no-cost measure, so it has been included here today. The amendment in the nature of substitute for H.R. 2189 consolidates this bill with H.R. 2138. The deadlines provided to GAO for reporting the VA's compliance with these recommendations have been amended in concurrence with GAO's current workload. In addition, Ms. Titus will be offering an amendment in the nature of an amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to expand upon the portion of the task force that will eliminate the appeals process for disability claims. Finally, the amendment in the nature of substitute for H.R. 2423, which I am proud to have introduced, consolidates this bill with H.R.s 2194, 2341, and 2382. In addition, the text of H.R. 864, which designates an American city each year as an American World War II city, has been added. Although H.R. 864 was not in our legislative agenda, the text of that legislation successfully passed out of committee last year and is also a bipartisan measure with no costs attached. Furthermore, the text of H.R. 2382 has been amended to further expand the categories of prioritized claimants to include homeless veterans, recipients of the Medal of Honor, and a good cause exemption. In addition, Ms. Titus will be offering an amendment to an amendment in the nature of the substitute, provide for additional prioritized status of prisoners of war who have been seriously or very seriously injured, and those whose claims have been viewed again in relation to a previously denied claim relating to military sexual trauma. We have worked with VA and several veteran service organizations to ensure that these bills are sound and meet the needs of our veterans in several ways while allowing for the greatest amount of efficiency possible. I hope the members will join me in reporting them favorably to the full committee, and I ask at this time, I recognize the ranking member, Ms. Titus, for any remarks she would like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding today's markup. I appreciate your leadership on these important issues, and I certainly appreciate the bipartisan spirit that has continued to guide the operations of this subcommittee. The first bill on the agenda is, as you noted, my bill H.R. 2086, the Pay-As-You-Rate Act. This would require the VA to pay for medical conditions as they are adjudicated within the electronic system. Currently, veterans typically receive payment when all the medical conditions within a claim are fully adjudicated, which for my constituents in Las Vegas can average 539 days. This bill would require the VA to pay veterans as individual medical conditions are adjudicated, so they'll be paid at least some amount at a faster rate. Now, we know that this is needed because our service members who are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan average 8.5 medical conditions within each claim. Now, some of these medical conditions, like traumatic brain injury, are complex and time-consuming, while others, such as hearing loss, are simpler. The VA should compensate the veterans for those so-called easy medical conditions as quickly as possible while continuing to work on the more complex aspects of the claim. I know that veterans in Nevada and throughout the country deserve to receive any benefits that are due them as quickly as possible, and I believe the Pay-As-You-Rate Act will help accomplish that goal. Additionally, there will be an amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 286, which includes the language from the pieces of legislation that you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, H.R. 1288, the World War II Merchant Mariner Service Act. This is introduced by Representative Butterfield from North Carolina. H.R. 1623, the Claims Efficiency Through Information Act, offered by Representative Negrete McLeod, who is a member of this committee. H.R. 1809, the Faster Filing Act, which is sponsored by Representative O'Rourke, also a member of our committee, and H.R. 2185, the Veterans Day Moment of Silence Act, that was offered by Representative Lynch of Massachusetts. I would applaud all our colleagues, especially those from this committee, for their efforts to create smart, pragmatic solutions that will help the VA eliminate the backlog and provide better services to our veterans. The legislation from Representatives O'Rourke and Negrete McLeod are aimed at doing just that, and I thank them for their work on our subcommittee. Also on today's agenda, we have H.R. 2189, which was sponsored by our chairman, that would establish a commission or task force to evaluate the backlog of claims and increase training for claims processors. We support those efforts regarding the backlog task force and appreciate your openness to further expanding the task force with a subcommittee that would focus on the appeals process. As you well know, and as we heard in testimony, if the VA accomplishes its goal of ending the backlog by 2015, then there will be a wave of appeals coming behind that. I'm not convinced from what we heard in testimony that the VA is ready for that wave, and that could become the next backlog that our veterans face. By creating a subcommittee on this commission, they will have an opportunity to lay the groundwork and strategy for heading off this future backlog before it becomes a serious problem. Finally, we're marking up your bill, Mr. Chairman, H.R. 2423, and again, I appreciate the opportunity to expand the list of categories of priorities for veterans' claims, especially adding the sexual trauma cases, which have already been considered once, we don't feel like they need to go to the back of the line now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our other colleagues for introducing these measures before us, and I, like you, support them all and look forward to seeing them move to the full committee. I also want to thank our staff on both sides of the aisle for the hard work that they've done and for their cooperation in seeing that this gets before us today. I yield back.
Thank the ranking member. All members and staffs have been provided copies and briefed on the bills before us today. And I now call up H.R. 2086, and the clerk shall report.
H.R. 2086, to direct the Secretary to make interim payments of disability compensation benefits for certain claims for such compensation prior to the adjudication of such claims and for other purposes.
The clerk will suspend. The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point.
Mr. Chairman.
Ranking Member Titus.
Thank you. I would offer an amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2086. A copy is before each member.
The clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2086, offered by Ms. Titus of Nevada.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. The ranking member, Ms. Titus, is now recognized in support of her amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment in the nature of a substitute includes language from three other bills: H.R. 1288, the World War II Merchant Mariner Service Act, introduced by Representative Butterfield; H.R. 1623, the Claims Efficiency Through Information Act, offered by Representative Negrete McLeod of the DAMA Subcommittee; H.R. 1809, the Faster Filing Act, sponsored by Representative O'Rourke, also a member of our committee; and finally, H.R. 2185, the Veterans Day Moment of Silence Act, offered by Representative Lynch of Massachusetts. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for moving this forward, and I look forward to its adoption.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2086? Since there are no other amendments that were timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2086. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill H.R. 2086 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. And I now recognize Ms. Titus for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 2086 as amended be forwarded favorably to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 2086 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 2189. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 2189, to establish a commission or task force to evaluate the backlog of disability claims of the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Clerk will suspend. The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading will be dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. I have an amendment at the desk in the nature of an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk. The clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189, offered by Mr. Runyon of New Jersey.
I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189 will be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. As noted above, my amendment in the nature of a substitute consolidates this bill with the text of H.R. 2138 and clarifies GAO's reporting requirements. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute? Are there any amendments? Are there any amendments to the substitute amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd offer an amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189, a copy of which is before every member.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment offered by Ms. Titus? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2189 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill, H.R. 2189 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I now recognize Ms. Titus for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the bill H.R. 2189 as amended be forwarded favorably to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward H.R. 2189 as amended to the full committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 2189 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 2423. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 2423, to improve the authority of the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to enter into contracts with private physicians to conduct medical disability examinations.
Clerk will suspend. The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point, and I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk, and the clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2423, offered by Mr. Runyon of New Jersey.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. As noted above, in addition to consolidating the text of several bills, this amendment would enumerate. Yeah, makes sense now. Enumerate homeless veterans, medical of honor recipients, and provide the Secretary with discretion to prioritize a claim based upon good cause. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2423? Are there any amendments to the substitute amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would offer an amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2423, a copy of which is before each member.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment offered by Ms. Titus?
Mr. Chairman.
Ranking member.
Thank you. I would just say briefly again that we are adding to the list of those categories that are being prioritized, those that will be looked at first by the VA. And what we were especially concerned about adding are those that have been already looked at by the VA, even though in a more informal way than now they will be included in this legislation. In addition to that, we want to add those cases for sexual trauma, military sexual trauma. They have previously been denied a claim. They're coming back into the system for review. We don't think they should go to the end of the line. I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady for yielding back. The question now occurs on the amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2423. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 2423 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on this bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill H.R. 2423 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I now recognize Ms. Titus for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the bill H.R. 2423 as amended be forwarded favorably to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 2423 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. Summarizing today's votes, the subcommittee has voted to forward H.R. 2086 as amended, H.R. 2189 as amended, and H.R. 2423 as amended favorably to the full committee. I ask unanimous consent that the committee staff be authorized to make technical, clerical, and conforming changes to the bills favorably forwarded today. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I thank the members for their attendance today, all the staff's and committee's hard work, and the subcommittee is now adjourned.
Thank you.